I get a lot of requests for a basics of how to play Sorare, and in this video I'm going to be going through exactly how the game works, all the key aspects of the gameplay, the main points of strategy that you need to know so you can go out and build your first squad to compete on the leaderboards for the cash, the cards, the jerseys, the tickets, whatever it is you're here to play for. Now I'm actually going live later this week to go in depth on exactly the best beginner roster that you could go out and build on Sorare to compete in the top 5 leagues across European football. So depending on when you're watching this, the live stream's already been and you can just watch it right after this video, or it's still to be live. And when you do click on that link, all you need to do is click the little notification bell and you'll get a little reminder on your phone when we go live to do that. And those streams are always fun, no matter whether you're brand new or whether you've been around the block once or twice. Now if you are brand new to Sorare and you're just starting out, there's a link in the description of this video that will always have the best beginner bonuses attached to it. Sorare love the content here on the channel because we've helped thousands of people, get to grips with the game and get up and running. So by clicking on that link, you'll support me and all the content here on the channel, of course, but you'll also be getting yourself, at point of recording, $50, pounds, euros, whatever your currency is, of market credit that you can use to go out and reinforce your squad. If you get stuck, if you've got any questions, just jump into the comment section and I'll come and sort you out. At any point in the video, if you do laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into this one. Because the first thing we need to tackle, quite simply, is just how the game actually works. Now, Sorare's got 317 clubs currently licensed on it at the moment from all the major leagues across world football. And the game is kind of broken into two main categories at the moment. You've got Sorare Rivals, which is like a match day game where you just go head to head on the same match against someone else. You don't need to own any cards to play that mode. And it's got some other kind of quirks around it. If you're interested in Rivals and how that works, I'll link it at the top of this screen now, the Rivals explainer video that I've got. But the majority of players that come to play Sorare are going to play Sorare Pro, and this is the mode where really everyone focuses building their squad around, because this is where the biggest and best prizes are won in the game. And all the leagues and clubs that are around world football that are on Sorare are broken into some pretty simple categories. We've got La Liga, we've got the Premier League, we've got the Bundesliga, we then have Champion Europe, which is the big 5 leagues in Europe, which is those 3 plus Liga and Serie A. We then have Challenger Europe, or it's not really Europe anymore, Challenger, where it's like Brazil, MLS, Holland, Belgium, Portugal, those kind of top leagues, but they're not the top 5 in world and European football, of course. And then we have Contender, which is like Scotland, Argentina, Mexico, Japan, Korea, Croatia, Austria, basically every other league. Bundesliga 2, La Liga 2, there's also those second tiers for the top leagues in European football. They also have a place in the game in this region as well. And then there's also the under 23 competition, which is basically what I like to think of as the Wonder Kid division. You need to be 23 or younger on the 1st of July. And every one of these competitions has a warm-up mode, which is designed for beginners, people that are starting the game out fresh, where you can try and use all sorts of players across all these competitions that we've already seen, as well as a global warm-up format where you can actually choose the best 5 players like across all leagues and all clubs and all that good stuff. You can play one limited card in here as well once you get going. So they only make a fixed amount of cards, maximum per season for each individual player. For limited cards, there'll be a maximum of 1,000. For rare cards, it's maximum of 100. Super rares are a maximum of 10, and uniques are a maximum of 1 per player per season. And you own the card until you sell it. You can use it for its entire career, you can use it every weekend, you can use it once in a while. It's entirely up to yourself. There's no limit on how often you can use the cards, and you don't always need to buy the ones that are in season at the moment. Because the Sorare game lobby is broken into 2 segments. We've got the current season competitions, where Sorare are mainly giving away the bulk of their $15 million of prize money this season. For the limited and the rare cards, you need to have 4 current season cards to be able to field a team, and you can use 1 card of a classic season, last season's card, or 5 seasons ago's card, or whatever it might be. And then you have the classic section, which is like anyone can play in here, but there's no limitations on what season your card is from. Is it a current season version or is it a classic one? And the main bulk of the rewards in the classic competitions is in-season Sorare cards itself. And of course, all these competitions are limited by what scarcity of card that you're going to be using to field your team in. So for limited cards that are very cheap and very easy to, assemble a squad or a bit of a roster for, there's a lot more teams, there's a lot more entrants, and the prize pool is still really good. I think there's a lot of money actually available in this competition, considering the value of cards that is in here. But then you have the rare segment, which again is got far less entrants in it compared to limited, and because the cards generally per card will cost a little bit more money, because there's only 100 100 of them maximum per season. The cash rewards, the card payouts are a little bit more generous at the top end of these rewards. And once you get to super rare and unique in terms of the cash payouts, they're very much more appealing in terms of the actual amounts that are paid out in each of the places. But because there is less teams, less entrants, less cards, there is less places that are played out as well. But by buying those rarer cards, the ones that are more expensive and, you know, playing against less people, you then have maybe a different edge available to you. So no matter really what part of the game you do plan on starting in, no matter what region, no matter what scarcity of card, those warm-up competitions we mentioned a moment ago are the #1 place for me to cut your teeth, to learn the scoring matrix, and to try and figure out what players you like are actually pretty good at the game. I've got a full series on my channel dedicated to these competitions called Zero to Hero. I'll link it at the end of this video in case you want to check it out. But just to touch on the scores real quickly, so I've not mentioned that yet, sorry, while I've been explaining cards and competitions. But the scoring matrix, again, I've got a complete video on it. I'll link it at the top of the screen in case you want to go and check that out. But it goes from 0 to 100 and it works on two main kind of pillars. We've got the decisive actions, which is the main body of the score, and that will change on really big things happening, whether it's goals scored, assists, penalties won, last man tackles, clearances off the line, or maybe something negative like an own goal or a red card or an error led to goal, that sort of thing. And then you have an all-around score which captures hundreds of in-game statistics like passes, duels, possession won and lost. Lots of interesting statistics go into this, and that creates their all-around score. Those two numbers get combined, and that's what gives them their rating out of 100. It might sound a little bit complicated, but it's really simple. Maybe it doesn't sound complicated. I don't think it does, but Phil Foden gets a goal and an assist. He gets a decisive score of 70 because of that, and then in the match, he's got 19.9 points of all-around. From the passing, the chances he's created in the game, he's got 10 points from the attacking category for a couple of shots on goal, playing 8 balls into the box. I say it's not... If you're a football fan, you'll get this really quickly. It's not that complicated. That brings in a score of 89 for Phil Foden. Now that we've got the lay of the land out there, it makes it a lot easier to explain those key details that all the beginners really want to know to actually help them build their first squad, and the key strategy points that they need to keep at the front of their mind before going out into the market and scouting players and building their first squad. I've already referenced the warm-up mode enough, so that's not what I'm talking about here. We're actually talking about getting cards, building a team, and hitting a big score on the leaderboard. Now, every player does have the ability to score between 0 and 100, but some players have the ability to score more than that. Every Sorare card, like I've mentioned already, you own it until you sell it, and these guys, you can play them no matter what club they're at, but the longer you hold a card, the more times you play it, or the more times you put it into training, the higher the level it goes. If I'm to scroll down here and look at my in-season Nicholas Kuhn, for example, he is a level 7 card. Now, when they're at level 0, there's no additional bonus onto their score, but when they get all the way to level 20, they get 5% added on. Every level is 0.5% of an increment on the way there. So him being at level 7, he gets an additional 3.5% on his score, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for five-a-side fantasy football like this, these differentiators do make the difference. They can turn like an average player into one that's maybe a bit more effective on the leaderboard, and they make those players that when they do smash, when they do bang, they hit a little bit harder and you get a little bit higher on the leaderboard as a result. But also, from digging in deeper, and you can do this to different levels and to different extents, but to digging into the club you actually support, or the club that you're going to primarily build your gallery around, Sorare has got what they call the collection game on side of this as well. Now, they use this to actually give out things like jerseys, signed jerseys, match tickets, etc. If you are like, and different scarcities have had different criteria, but generally if you can get into the top 5 of a collection for a season, there's a decent chance that if a collection event does come round for the club that you've got a collection for, then you're going to be in the mix to get some of the goodies that come off the back of that. But regardless of that, because you know they're very infrequent and you can't really predict them in that sense, there was 2 or 3 last year. Who knows how many there'll be this year. But each of the cards that you buy, if they're in the same season and they're in the same squad, go together in a collection. And again, depending on how many cards you've got in the collection and what type of cards are they, does the serial number match the number on the back of their shirt? Are they a number 1? These things matter. Is it a special edition? Like these are some Champion Edition Celtic cards I've got here. Rookie cards also is a thing, which is a lot of fun. They also count as a special edition. And there's a few other bits and bobs that go around there. But depending on the value of your collection, every card in the collection will get an additional percentage on their score as well, which can be as low as 0, of course, and it goes all the way to 5. And then every single card that is issued in the current season gets what we call an in-season bonus of a flat 5%, and you get that as soon as you get the card. You know, it's always got it while it's currently in season. So rare cards can have as little as an XP bonus or percentage bonus on them 0, and it can be as high as 15, or maybe depending on the back end of the season, if you've got an in-season card that really gets up the levels, use some level boosts, which is an in-game item as well, maybe it could get as high as 20, but it won't be for long and there won't be that many of them. And this is one of the key points of the game that you really need to get your head around when you start, is Sorare is a game that rewards you the longer you play it. It is a collection game of these cards that you are going to assemble to formulate your club. My club's called FC Barcelona, and you can see with some of the collections that I've got here, yeah, I've got that Celtic one, but I also collect cards from all across world football, European football especially, and I don't have big collections in all of them, but I like to get collections of cards that I'm a fan of, clubs that I think I've got a good transfer policy perhaps, because I own these cards no matter who they play for. So something like this RB Leipzig collection that I picked up a few years ago, Angelino now plays at Roma, Guardiola is now at Man City, Szoboszlai is now at Liverpool, Forsberg is now in the MLS and doing really well. Konrad Laimer is at Bayern Munich, Dani Olmo is at Barcelona, Christopher Nkunku is at Chelsea, and I use them and play them all the time. But because all their shirts match, they're all in the same season, at the same club, etc., I get an additional 3% bonus on every one of those cards. Now, there will be some cards, there will be some players, some teams you maybe falling in love out with, maybe, you know, they're not that good or all the rest of it, but it is really important that when you're brand new, you do try and build a core of what is going to be your squad, you know, the team you support, a team you really back, or like that Leipzig collection, maybe you just think they've got a really great squad this year, and they might not be great for the club they're at right now, but once one or two of them transfer around Europe, oh, these guys have got the potential to go right to the top. So that could be a good strategy for getting guys in before they become big. You know, a lot of people play Sorare for that kind of scouting aspect of it as well, because that's a lot of fun if you're a football fan. Because there is that trading card element of Sorare, of course, where people do want to buy players cheap and maybe sell them when they go up in price, or maybe if they get injured, you know, chuck them out the door, bring someone new in who's in form, that kind of thing. And, you know, there's definitely a part of that in the game that you do need to embrace, don't get me wrong. But in terms of actually building and getting your head around this game, you will be really happy the longer you're in this game to have guys that reach level 15 and above, to have a few of them in a collection together that gets you a couple of points as well, because the leaderboard, especially where the really good prizes are, it is the thinnest of margins that can decide you winning like big and okay, or okay and not at all. You know, it's really fine margins, and if there is parts of the gallery or your club or your squad that you're first establishing that I would want you to think about is ones that you're happy to keep for as long as possible. You know, you really like that player, that club, you're really happy with their squad build, or you really support them, or you're a big fan of them, that kind of thing, like I've mentioned. And then for me, once you've got that kind of core club identified, that kind of core strategy that you're going to lean into of, I support this team, but I really like this squad, or all the rest of it, is seeing what's wrong with it, you know, what's missing, because this is five-a-side fantasy football where you pick the squad, where you pick the best 5 players you possibly can. And if you're looking at a squad like that Leipzig collection I showed you a minute ago, there is only actually 4 forward cards. Yusuf Poulsen, who barely even plays, and then Hugo Novoa and Brian Broby that aren't at squads that really would go in with this. And then Andre Silva, who can't kick a ball at the moment. So this collection is like good, but it's not complete, you know? So you can look at this and go, right, well, this needs strikers and goalkeepers around it. And it's nailing that combination of like a core of guys that are quite predictably going to play together and score well together, mixed in with the missing pieces of why that team isn't like top of the league, or why they concede goals is because of their defense, they don't score goals because their attack is crap. Because there is a trap of just buying a stack and just playing the entire, you know, best 5 that you can, rotate for who's in and out, who's suspended and all the rest of it, and then just seeing how well they do and just seeing how high you maybe finish on the leaderboard with that. But that is like not optimal, and people realize that kind of quickly, maybe not quickly enough in all cases, and then you're kind of doubling back because you've overspent on some of the collection, and it's maybe stopped you from getting that striker that was missing, or really getting a better goalkeeper than what you had there already. And then once you come into the actual pro arena itself, all of the competitions that we explained about earlier in the video are broken into different divisions. So you're going to start at the bottom and you're going to have to get promoted up the divisions where the prizes get better, the prize pools pay out, better value cards, better value boxes, more money depending on what division and what region that we're talking about here. And you can see the level of scores that are are required across all of the divisions. Thinking, why is that showing this page here? But that's where I finished in the top 200 with 386 points on this game week. But predominantly across these divisions, you're looking at the high 400s and into the 500s. Now, each one of these players score between 0 and 100, and there is only 5 of them. So there's a lot of XP, there's a lot of collection bonus that's getting mixed into a lot of different players, like squads. You do also have a huge captain bonus. You'll select one player in every game week that is going to be your captain, is going to be your talisman, and captain selection is a huge part of the game, which is generally around a 50% multiplier. So you need to have a guy within your ranks that is captain capable. That might be in that core collection that you're building. I would really hope that it is, because if you are going to have a guy that's captain capable, you want them to get every advantage you possibly can give them. You want to get them to the highest level. You want to surround them with a couple of cards if possible to get that collection bonus on side, and then when you captain them at the weekend, you know, if they bring in Guardiola here, scored basically 80, 79.68, but with that multiplier, it takes it to 129. Now, obviously, Nkunku's let me down here. The goalkeeper didn't keep the clean sheet, but you need a guy that you can put that captain's armband on in your SO5 team that is going to, you know, carry you to victory, is going to make the difference. Kang In Lee's been one of my favourite captains so far this year. At the weekend here, he scored basically 98 points, and with that armband, I've got a bit of a collection around him as well as a high level. He's got a 56 multiplier, so that 98 becomes 153. And finally, because of the way the SO5 Arena is broken into that in-season format, the current season where the majority of the prize money is actually paid out, every card has the opportunity to play in-season while it's in-season. But once that's over, there's no going back. So when you're starting out brand new especially, a lot of people are quite focused on how much they've spent on their first squad, on their first bunch of cards. So I always think it's so valuable to have the option, to have the opportunity to be able to play your initial squad in the in-season tournament, so that if they do smash, you can actually win cash, you can actually win money, and, you know, the squad ends up paying for itself. I think everyone sees that as a massive W, as a massive win, you know. Never mind if it pays for itself and then some. And there is a price difference between cards that are in their current season and if they're a classic card, if they're out of season. You'll notice this especially when, if you're going on to Sorare to buy a current season card, you've got two main options. You've got three main options. You've got from Sorare, which is main option number one, which is kind of broken into two parts, which is auctions, which is just eBay style bidding. You just put down your max bid, and then, you know, when the auction closes, let's see how the bids have went. And you also have instant buy. Instant buy is normally a little bit more expensive, but you get it instantly. There's no auction here. The benefit to buying from Sorare directly for auctions or instant buy is that collection bonus stuff we're talking about before. It makes that way easier because you become the first owner of the card. That happens if you win the card as well, which is always nice. But you can also buy current season Sorare cards on the secondary market from other Sorare managers who have bought or won them or traded them around, or, you know, whatever it might be. And generally the secondary market is a lot cheaper than the primary market, as it's called, because you don't get that first owner bonus on the cards, so they're normally a little bit cheaper here. So if you are finding that you can get enough cards off auction and instant buy to get the collection stuff going off, and it doesn't cost too much, and it's within budget or whatever, then great. But for some of those premium players, for some of the goalkeepers, some of the captain capable guys, we want to be looking at the manager sales, we want to be looking at the secondary market, because not only will the price probably be cheaper, but you also have the ability to just send them a direct offer, try and trade different cards, send a different value. You know, they've maybe got the card listed for, you know, £3 and you want to pay £2, whatever. They can reject, they can accept, they can send back a wee message saying it was too low, or, you know, whatever it might be. But in the current in-season competitions, you know, the 24-25 competitions that we looked at, you can have one classic player in your team, and this has to be your captain capable guy, if not your goalkeeper. If your budget doesn't allow you to get everyone in the current season that you want to get into your roster, because like, the captain capable guys are always going to be way more expensive, because they are the difference between winning and losing quite often. And one that is in season just gives you more flexibility with your squad selection and all the rest of it. But definitely when you're starting out and you're building your first squad, if you are on a budget, you've got a set limit of how much you're going to build your Sorare squad with. It 100% makes sense to get the most expensive player as a classic season player. Now, they won't fit into your collection strategy and all the other stuff that we've kind of mentioned in that regard, but when you are limited by budget, once you've identified that captain capable guy, if you look at the price of him and you're like, oh wow, Mbappe on instant buy is £200, on the secondary market he's 150, even for an in-season one like this. Even if we look at classic, like an older version, 134. And then you'll be off to the races in no time, winning cards, money, or even Sorare boxes. And one of the main things that gets paid out of the Sorare boxes across all the competitions is a thing called Essence. Now, Essence is basically like shards or pieces of cards, or however you want to think of it as. And when you save up Essence here across this progress bar that we've got, you know, they're all coloured depending on what scarcity you're playing in, but you can then just transform them into a card of this relative strength. All the Sorare cards are tiered from star tier, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. Tier 5 guys never play, are very cheap, or very bad. Star guys are, you know, Mbappe and Bellingham, the creme de la creme. So as long as you're getting into the top 50% in season, the top 25% in the classic competitions, you'll be collecting boxes regardless. You'll be, you know, building up essence to craft and hopefully produce some cards, as well as actually the cards and the money you could actually win from getting into the top end of the leaderboard. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to click over here if you want to see that, how to build your first roster, the scouting live stream that we're doing, or over here. There'll be some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Jump into the comment section if you've got any questions or you get stuck. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.